The galaxy was once ruled by ancient, powerful civilizations that had mastered the stars. From the terrifying Swarm, a race of insectoid conquerors, to the elegant and calculating Etherians, known for their psychic prowess, every species had staked its claim in the vast reaches of the cosmos. War was constant, and peace was a rare luxury. But then came the humans. They were not what anyone expected. They were a young species, barely out of their infancy in the grand scheme of galactic civilization. Their homeworld, Earth, was a small and insignificant rock in the uncharted fringes of the galaxy, tucked away in a corner no one thought to look. Yet, in the grand tapestry of the universe, the humans were the spark that would ignite a conflict that would shake the stars themselves. It started when an unknown fleet, hidden among the dark nebulae on the edge of human space, arrived without warning. They called themselves the Dominion, a race of genetically engineered supersoldiers who had conquered and enslaved entire star systems. Their mission was simple: subjugate, control, and assimilate. And their first target was Earth. The humans had never faced a threat like this. At first, they tried to resist, but the Dominion's technology was far beyond anything the humans had developed. Cities fell, fleets were decimated, and the people of Earth were pushed to the brink of extinction. It seemed like the end was inevitable, but what the Dominion didn't count on was the human will to survive. Despite the overwhelming odds, humans never gave up. They adapted, they learned, and they fought back with a ferocity that stunned even the Dominion. The first human-led victory came when a small group of engineers and scientists, backed by a ragtag fleet of civilians, managed to reverse-engineer a piece of Dominion technology that had been recovered after an early battle. They unlocked the secrets of a weapon that could turn the tide. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. The first strike was devastating. A massive wave of human ships, equipped with the newly adapted technology, tore through the Dominion's fleet with a precision and effectiveness no one thought possible. The shock of the attack reverberated throughout the galaxy, and the Dominion, previously invincible in their arrogance, were forced to retreat. But they were not finished. They were relentless, and they would return with even greater force. Part 2 of the story would show how the humans, now galvanized by their victory, began to rally their forces, not just from Earth, but from the colonies that had once been forgotten. The war, which had seemed so one-sided, was now an all-out fight for survival. The Dominion might have underestimated the humans, but they would soon learn that the humans had something no other species had: unity, determination, and the desire to make their mark on the galaxy. The humans would fight not just for survival, but for revenge. And this time, they would not be fighting alone. Across the stars, other species, once cautious and hesitant, began to see the humans in a new light. The legend of humanity was just beginning to take shape. As the humans regrouped, something remarkable began to happen. The once scattered colonies, left to their own devices for centuries, now sought a common purpose. Messages of the first victory spread like wildfire through the vast expanse of human-inhabited space. These messages weren't just of hope, they were of defiance. The humans, a species thought to be weak and easily crushed, had fought back and won. Now, they were emboldened, united under the banner of survival and vengeance. The Dominion had underestimated humanity's greatest strength, its ability to unite under the most dire circumstances. Humans weren't just survivors, they were innovators, quick to adapt, and relentless in their pursuit of victory. The war machine they began to build was a testament to this. They didn't just focus on defensive tactics, they became experts in guerrilla warfare, utilizing every advantage they had. While their technology was still far behind the Dominion's, their ingenuity was unparalleled. Every corner of human space began to hum with activity, as weapons were forged, starships constructed, and strategies devised. But humans were not alone in their newfound resistance. There were whispers across the stars of other civilizations who had witnessed the Dominion's ruthless conquests. Some of them, like the Furians, a race of insect-like beings who had long been subjugated by the Dominion, offered their assistance. Others, like the Amarians, a peaceful and diplomatic species, sought to find a way to broker an alliance. However, most species remained skeptical, unwilling to risk drawing the Dominion's ire. But the tide was slowly changing, and humans began to see that their fight had far greater implications than just their own survival. The first sign of this shift came when a small fleet of Farian warships, once enslaved by the Dominion, arrived at a human colony on the edge of known space. Their leader, a former Dominion captive who had narrowly escaped with his life, extended a cautious but heartfelt offer to help in the human resistance. The humans, recognizing the potential alliance, agreed to work together. It was a fragile beginning, but it was enough to spark hope among the other colonies and races. The humans, with their boundless tenacity and adaptability, now had allies in their corner. However, the Dominion was never far behind. They returned with a vengeance, striking at the heart of human space with an unrelenting force that sent shockwaves through every sector. Their fleet was larger, more advanced, and their soldiers more ruthless than ever before. But the humans were ready. Their ragtag fleet had grown into a formidable force, and they were no longer the inexperienced underdogs of the galaxy. They fought with everything they had, using every scrap of technology they could muster. The first major battle was fought at the planet Thales, a critical hub for human and allied forces. The Dominion's strategy was simple: overwhelm them with sheer numbers. But the humans had learned how to turn the Dominion's greatest strength into a weakness. With the help of their new allies, humans launched a daring counterattack. Farian ships, equipped with cloaking technology, infiltrated the Dominion fleet, while human ships, modified to carry explosive charges, slammed into the heart of the Dominion's command vessel. The battle was long and grueling, but by the end of it, the Dominion was forced to retreat once more. It wasn't a decisive victory, but it was another blow to their unyielding belief in their own superiority. As the humans celebrated this small victory, they realized they had come far from the frightened species they once were. They had become a symbol of resistance, of defiance, and of hope. Their fight was no longer just about survival, it was about rewriting the narrative of their place in the galaxy. The Dominion had underestimated them, and now they were learning that humans were not to be dismissed so easily. The humans knew this war was far from over. They still had much to learn and many battles to fight. But they had begun to believe in their ability to win. The legend of humanity was no longer just a story told to inspire their own, it was becoming a legend that would echo throughout the stars. The Dominion had ignited a spark in humanity, but it was now a fire that would burn brightly for all to see. The war raged on, and as it did, the humans and their allies began to turn the tide against the Dominion in ways no one had thought possible. With each battle, their strategies grew more refined, their technology more advanced, and their alliances stronger. What had once been a series of desperate skirmishes now evolved into a full-scale rebellion, a fight not just for survival, but for the future of the galaxy itself. Human ingenuity was the key. The humans had learned to take what little they had and turn it into something far more lethal. They repurposed Dominion tech, adapting it to their own needs, and developed new weapons that used the enemy's strengths against them. Their greatest achievement came when a team of human engineers, working alongside the Farians, managed to develop a prototype for a new kind of ship, one that combined stealth, speed, and raw firepower. The new class of human warships was designed to outmaneuver the Dominion's massive fleets while delivering devastating strikes against their command structures. These ships, called the Phoenix class, became the flagship of humanity's counteroffensive. Their sleek, angular designs were a far cry from the bulky and unwieldy Dominion vessels, and their ability to slip in and out of enemy lines undetected gave humanity a powerful edge. The Phoenix-class ships were equipped with energy weapons capable of cutting through even the heaviest of Dominion armor, as well as cloaking systems that allowed them to disappear into the vastness of space. They were no longer the underdogs, humanity now had a fighting chance. The Phoenix-class ships were a symbol of humanity's defiance, but they also served a greater purpose. They allowed the humans to launch precision strikes against Dominion strongholds, disrupting their command and supply lines. One of the most significant strikes came on the planet Eris, a critical Dominion stronghold located deep within their territory. It was a place that, until then, had been considered nearly impenetrable. But the humans, emboldened by their previous victories, made it their next target. The battle for Eris would be a turning point in the war. The Dominion had fortified the planet with their most advanced defenses, and the human fleet, still outnumbered and outgunned, seemed like it stood no chance. However, the humans had learned to use their strength in unexpected ways. Instead of a direct assault, they executed a daring strategy, a combination of stealth, sabotage, and psychological warfare. A small, elite group of human soldiers infiltrated Dominion facilities on the surface, planting bombs and disabling key infrastructure. At the same time, their Phoenix-class ships launched a series of coordinated hit-and-run attacks against the Dominion fleet, drawing attention away from the real assault. It was a calculated risk, but it paid off. The Dominion, stretched thin by multiple distractions, was caught off guard. The sabotage team succeeded in crippling Eris's power grid, causing chaos in the Dominion command centers. The Phoenix-class ships launched wave after wave of attacks, breaking through the Dominion's defenses and forcing their fleet to retreat. The battle for Eris ended in a resounding victory for the humans. The Dominion's grip on the planet was broken, and humanity had delivered a powerful message: they were no longer prey. The victory at Eris was a turning point not just for the humans, but for the entire galaxy. Other species, who had been watching the conflict from the sidelines, began to take notice. The once frightened and scattered humans had become a force to be reckoned with. The Dominion, once thought invincible, was now on the defensive, and rumors spread that the humans were gaining more allies with every passing day. But the Dominion was far from finished. In the aftermath of Eris, they regrouped, adapting to humanity's tactics and learning from their mistakes. Their retaliation was swift and brutal. They unleashed a new wave of devastating weapons, designed to counter the Phoenix-class ships and disrupt the growing human resistance. The war had escalated to new heights, and humanity was about to face its greatest test yet. The humans knew they couldn't win this war alone. They needed more than just their own resolve, they needed the support of the galaxy's other civilizations. And so, they set out to forge new alliances, to rally the stars in their fight against the Dominion. It would be a difficult task, one fraught with political intrigue and mistrust, but humanity had already proven that they were capable of more than anyone had ever expected. The legend of humanity was no longer just about the survival of a single species, it had become a movement that threatened to reshape the galaxy. The Dominion may have been a force to be reckoned with, but humanity was learning to fight on a level that no one could have predicted. And with each victory, the humans' reputation spread, inspiring more and more races to join the cause. The galaxy was on the verge of something new, something that had never been seen before. The war that made humans a legend had only just begun. The Dominion, reeling from their losses at Eris, turned their attention to a new strategy: total annihilation. They realized that while their fleets could be countered, their enemies were still vulnerable in one crucial way: their homeworlds. The Dominion was a master of psychological warfare, and they knew that if they could destroy Earth's will to fight, they could bring the humans to their knees. They devised a brutal campaign that would target Earth's very heart. Their plan was simple: deploy a fleet of world-cracking weapons, massive, planet-killing projectiles, designed to obliterate entire civilizations in a single strike. The humans had fought valiantly in the stars, but now the Dominion would take the fight directly to their doorstep. Earth, the birthplace of humanity, would be their final test. In response, humanity's leadership, now strengthened by their growing coalition of alien allies, knew that they had to prepare for an assault unlike anything they had ever faced. Earth's defenses, though formidable, were limited compared to the vast power of the Dominion. Humanity could no longer afford to rely solely on guerrilla tactics or stolen technology. They needed a new plan, one that would involve every colony, every species they had allied with, and every individual willing to risk everything for the survival of the human race. The human leadership, along with their allies, rallied together in a secret council to devise their next move. The only way to prevent Earth's destruction was to take the war directly to the Dominion's homeworld, the heart of their empire. The plan would involve a multi-pronged attack, using every resource available: human ingenuity, alien technology, and the power of unity. The humans knew that such an attack would require more than just military might, it would take every bit of their collective resolve. They had to hit the Dominion where it hurt the most: their leadership. The Dominion had always prided themselves on their unwavering chain of command, their absolute control over their forces. If they could eliminate the Dominion's ruling council, they could cripple their ability to maintain order across the galaxy. The plan was bold, dangerous, and fraught with risk, but it was the only chance they had. The Phoenix-class ships would spearhead the assault, providing cover for a small, elite strike force tasked with infiltrating the Dominion capital and eliminating the ruling council. It would be a mission unlike any other, a mission where the line between life and death was razor-thin. The humans' allies, including the Farians and the Amarians, would join the strike, creating a united front of diverse species all fighting for a common cause. They had all seen the Dominion's cruelty, and they knew that the only way to end the war was to end the Dominion's reign of terror. Each race brought their own unique skills to the table, making the plan even more complicated but more potent than ever before. The attack began with a massive distraction. The humans launched a series of coordinated assaults on Dominion strongholds throughout the galaxy, diverting attention away from their true objective. Meanwhile, a small fleet of stealth ships, including the elite strike force, slipped past the Dominion's defenses and made their way toward the heart of the Dominion Empire. They navigated through heavily fortified sectors, evading detection with the help of Farian cloaking technology. The strike force's destination was the Dominion capital, a heavily fortified, almost impregnable world known as Zarroth. It was the birthplace of the Dominion, the seat of their power, and the location of their leadership's final stronghold. The capital was surrounded by layers of defense, each more advanced and lethal than the last. But the humans and their allies had one advantage the Dominion didn't foresee: their sheer determination to succeed, no matter the odds. As the fleet approached Zarroth, the Dominion's countermeasures began to activate. Massive defense drones swarmed the skies, and the capital's planetary shields powered up, creating a near-impenetrable barrier around the world. Yet, the humans had anticipated this. The Farian ships, equipped with specialized cloaking systems, were able to bypass the defenses, allowing the strike force to land undetected. On the ground, the elite strike force made their way toward the heart of the Dominion's power, the central palace where the ruling council was located. They fought their way through waves of Dominion soldiers, using every tactic and weapon at their disposal. The Dominion, though technologically superior, were unprepared for the raw intensity and cunning of the humans and their allies. The final confrontation came when the strike force reached the council chambers. The ruling council, a group of the most feared and revered individuals in the galaxy, stood before them. These beings were the architects of the Dominion's empire, the ones who had orchestrated the subjugation of countless species. And now, they stood ready to face their end at the hands of the humans they had underestimated for so long. The battle was swift and brutal. The council's guards fell quickly, their weapons no match for the coordinated assault of the strike force. In a final, desperate act, the council attempted to activate their planet-destroying weapons, an act that would have killed millions and destroyed Zarroth. But they were too late. The strike force disabled the weapons, and the ruling council was captured. The Dominion's heart had been pierced. Their leadership was gone, their power shattered. With their command structure decimated, the once formidable empire began to crumble. It was the moment that changed the course of the war. The legend of humanity, and their ability to defy the impossible, was sealed. The humans had proven that no matter how powerful an enemy might be, they could always be defeated when united in purpose. The war that made humans a legend was far from over, but the tide had irrevocably shifted. The Dominion had learned a harsh truth: the human race was not to be underestimated. And soon, the galaxy would know that humanity was no longer a young species struggling to survive, they were a force that had changed the course of history. With the fall of the Dominion's leadership, the once unified empire fractured into chaos. Without the firm hand of their ruling council to guide them, the Dominion's fleets and soldiers began to splinter, their morale shattered. The humans, emboldened by their success, seized the opportunity to strike at the heart of the crumbling empire. The war was far from over, but now it was clear: the humans had become the dominant force in the galaxy. In the aftermath of the battle for Zarroth, the newly formed human-led coalition held a critical summit. Leaders from every species that had joined the fight gathered to discuss their next steps. The stakes were higher than ever. Though the Dominion had lost its leadership, it still possessed formidable forces scattered across the galaxy. It would take more than just human ingenuity to finally end the war. It would take every ally they had gained, every piece of technology they had acquired, and every ounce of their collective resolve. One of the most pressing issues was the Dominion's remaining fleet, which was now fractured but still potent. While many of their fleets had scattered after the destruction of their command, a large portion remained loyal to the Dominion's ideals, continuing to wreak havoc on unsuspecting systems. The galaxy was still in turmoil, and the Dominion's shattered remnants were hungry for revenge. The only way to truly end the war was to hunt down these rogue factions and dismantle them once and for all. To do so, humanity needed a more strategic approach. The humans, once desperate for survival, had now become tacticians and generals, leading the charge to not only defend their colonies but to also liberate those still under Dominion control. The newly reformed Galactic Coalition, human and alien forces united under one banner, formed specialized task forces. The goal was clear: eliminate the rogue Dominion factions and bring peace to the galaxy. The first target was a stronghold on the planet Selker, a key Dominion outpost that had been operating under the radar since the fall of Zaroth. The Dominion had used Selker as a base of operations for their remaining fleets, and it was here that they had begun to rebuild their strength. The humans and their allies planned a full-scale assault to dismantle the Dominion's remnants on the planet. The operation was complex. The humans had to deal with Dominion commanders who were ruthless, paranoid, and determined to restore the old order. These commanders had gathered the most loyal soldiers, using propaganda and fear to unite them under the Dominion banner once again. To break this cycle of hatred, the humans would have to defeat them both militarily and ideologically. Human and allied forces launched a surprise assault on Selker, using their technological superiority to create a series of simultaneous distractions. In the midst of the chaos, an elite squad of human soldiers, along with Farian infiltrators and Amarian diplomats, would land on the planet's surface and infiltrate the Dominion command centers. Their mission was twofold: eliminate the rogue Dominion leaders and liberate the enslaved populations the Dominion had forced to work in their mines. The battle for Selker was fierce. The Dominion loyalists, though shattered in their unity, fought with desperation, knowing that their survival depended on this final stand. But the human forces were unstoppable. With the element of surprise on their side and the full cooperation of their alien allies, they moved quickly, systematically taking down Dominion strongholds while freeing the prisoners that had been held in secret camps. For the first time in years, hope began to spread to the planets that had once been too afraid to resist. On the surface of Selker, the human strike force infiltrated the Dominion command center, where they found the remaining Dominion commanders holed up. It was a battle of will as much as it was of weapons. The Dominion officers, hardened by years of rule, clung to their belief in the superiority of their empire, but they were no match for the combined human spirit. The humans, emboldened by their previous victories, fought with unmatched intensity. They dismantled the command structure piece by piece, systematically taking down the Dominion leadership. The final confrontation came when the leader of the rogue Dominion faction, a ruthless commander known as KLNR, stood before them. He was one of the few remaining figures who had been a part of the original Dominion Council. His arrogance had fueled his belief that the Dominion could rise again. But in the face of the humans and their allies, KLNAR's resolve faltered. As the battle reached its climax, KLNAR attempted to flee, using the chaos of the fight to escape. But it was too late. A human captain, known for his quick thinking and unwavering courage, intercepted the fleeing leader and confronted him in the ruins of the Dominion's command center. There, in the shadow of a crumbling empire, KLNAR fell, his dreams of reclaiming the Dominion shattered. With KLNAR's death, the last of the rogue Dominion factions lost their heart. The remnants of their fleet scattered, leaderless and demoralized. The final stronghold of the Dominion was no more. Humanity, aided by their allies, had dismantled the last vestiges of the once feared empire. The galaxy, though still scarred by war, was beginning to heal. The war that made humans a legend had reached its turning point. The humans, from the brink of annihilation, had not only survived, they had triumphed. The victory at Selkirk marked the beginning of a new era. The Dominion was finished, and in its place, the Galactic Coalition began to rebuild, ensuring that such an empire of tyranny would never rise again. Humanity had proven that even in the darkest moments, there was always hope, always the will to fight, and always the potential for greatness. And now, the legend of humanity's courage and resolve would echo across the stars for generations to come. In the wake of the fall of the Dominion and the defeat of its rogue factions, the galaxy found itself at a crossroads. The war, though technically over, had left deep scars on every corner of the known universe. Countless worlds had been ravaged, billions had been lost, and the future seemed uncertain. Yet, humanity and their allies stood victorious, their legacy sealed in the annals of galactic history. The war that made humans a legend had changed the fabric of the galaxy forever. But now came the true challenge: rebuilding. The first step in the healing process was to establish a new order, one based on cooperation, peace, and mutual respect. The humans, who had once fought desperately for survival, now found themselves in a position to lead the rebuilding efforts. But leadership wasn't easy. Trust was fragile, and old wounds ran deep. Many species had suffered under the Dominion's tyranny, and even though the humans had delivered them from that oppression, not everyone was eager to embrace this new alliance. The leaders of the Galactic Coalition convened once more, this time to discuss the future of the galaxy. The Amarians, with their experience in diplomacy, were instrumental in brokering peace among the factions. The Farians, who had been the first to rally behind the human cause, worked tirelessly to help re-establish communications and trade routes that had been severed by years of war. The humans, with their exceptional adaptability, were at the forefront of technological reconstruction, bringing life to worlds that had been left in ruins. The process was slow, and many disagreements arose. Some species wanted to impose harsh sanctions on the remaining Dominion loyalists, ensuring that they would never rise again. Others, however, sought more lenient terms, believing that forgiveness, not punishment, was the path to long-lasting peace. The humans, ever pragmatic, found themselves walking a fine line between these opposing views, trying to balance the need for justice with the necessity of reconciliation. In the midst of this fragile peace, new threats began to emerge, ones that had been lurking in the shadows during the war. Without the Dominion to keep them in check, a new wave of galactic criminals, warlords, and power-hungry factions rose to fill the vacuum. While the galaxy had been united against the Dominion, it was clear that the peace was only temporary. The wounds of war had not yet fully healed, and the galaxy was still a powder keg, ready to explode at any moment. Humanity, now more organized and unified than ever, was forced to face the reality that their struggle was far from over. The lessons learned in the war against the Dominion, about resilience, unity, and the ability to adapt, would be put to the test once again. The new threats were more fragmented, harder to predict, and often willing to exploit the tensions between the various races. There were no longer any single dominant enemy like the Dominion. Now, the galaxy was a chaotic mix of competing interests, all vying for control in the absence of the old order. But despite these challenges, humanity's role as a leader in the galaxy became undeniable. The galaxy's inhabitants saw something in humanity that had been missing from the older empires: a willingness to build, not conquer, to cooperate, not dominate. The humans didn't seek to establish an empire, they sought to create something greater, a coalition that could withstand the test of time, one built on mutual respect and the lessons of the past. In the years following the war, the humans continued to pioneer new technologies, discovering ways to rebuild worlds that had been devastated by the Dominion's conquest. New settlements were established on distant planets, and trade routes were slowly re-established. What had once been a scattered, desperate species fighting for survival was now a vibrant and influential force for peace in the galaxy. Despite the threats that still loomed on the horizon, the humans had created something remarkable, a lasting legacy that spoke to their determination, their ingenuity, and their unshakable belief in the potential for good. As the galaxy moved forward, more and more species began to adopt humanity's ideals, recognizing that a better future could only be built through cooperation and shared knowledge. And as humanity's star continued to rise, they faced the ultimate test: would they truly be able to lead the galaxy toward lasting peace, or would their past struggles continue to haunt them? The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity had earned their place in the stars. They were no longer just survivors of the war that made humans a legend, they were now the architects of a new galactic order, one that promised to echo throughout the ages. But even as the peace seemed to settle in, the stars held secrets, old threats, long-forgotten enemies, and the ever-present possibility of war. Humanity had learned that their fight was never truly over. But with every new challenge, every new enemy, they would face it with the same determination that had made them legends. For in the hearts of humanity, there was no greater force than the will to never give up, to never surrender, and to always strive for a future where they would be the guardians of the galaxy. The war that made humans a legend had ended, but humanity's story was just beginning. As the years passed, humanity's reputation as a beacon of hope and resilience spread across the galaxy. The victory over the Dominion, though a pivotal chapter in history, had paved the way for a new era, a period of rebuilding, healing, and uncertain peace. The human race had not only survived, but had risen from the ashes of war to lead a coalition of diverse species in the fight for lasting harmony. But peace, as humanity had learned during their long struggle against the Dominion, was fragile. The galaxy, though free from the shackles of the Dominion, remained a volatile place. Old rivalries, long-held grudges, and a thirst for power still lingered among many factions. New threats began to surface, each one testing the resolve of the Galactic Coalition and the leadership that humanity had fought so hard to establish. The first true test came when a new, powerful entity emerged, one that was unlike anything the galaxy had faced before. This new threat, known only as the Shadow Collective, was a secretive group composed of former Dominion officers, rogue mercenaries, and powerful galactic warlords. Their motives were unclear, but their power was undeniable. They struck quickly and decisively, hitting key systems across the galaxy with devastating precision. The Shadow Collective was a shadow in the truest sense of the word, operating from the darkness, elusive and nearly impossible to track. In the wake of their initial attacks, the Galactic Coalition was thrown into chaos. Leaders scrambled to respond, but the Shadow Collective's tactics were unlike anything they had encountered. They did not rely on sheer military force alone; instead, they waged psychological warfare, infiltrating systems, sowing dissent, and creating distrust among the coalition members. Old fears resurfaced, and the fragile peace began to crumble. The humans, having faced countless battles before, knew that they could not afford to sit back and wait for the galaxy to unravel. The time had come for them to take the lead once again. This time, they knew that defeating the Shadow Collective would require more than just military might; it would require unity, trust, and a willingness to work together despite their differences. The human leadership called for a summit of all the coalition species, urging them to put aside their differences and focus on the greater threat. The Shadow Collective, they argued, would only grow stronger if the galaxy remained fractured and divided. It was a hard sell. Many species were still wary of humanity's rise to power and the influence they had gained in the post-Dominion era. But the humans, backed by their allies, managed to persuade enough factions to join forces once more. Together, they launched a counteroffensive. The humans led the charge, using their knowledge of the Shadow Collective's methods to stay one step ahead. They turned the Collective's own tactics against them, fighting fire with fire, using stealth, misinformation, and subversive operations to uncover their hidden bases and disrupt their operations. The war was not fought in open space or on planetary battlegrounds. Instead, it was a war of intelligence, infiltration, and manipulation, a war fought in the shadows. But the Shadow Collective was not easily defeated. As the counteroffensive progressed, humanity uncovered dark secrets about the Collective's origins. They discovered that the group had been founded by a former Dominion general, a figure long thought to be dead, who had escaped the fall of Zarroth with a cadre of loyal followers. This general, known as Vrax the Usurper, had been plotting for years, using the remnants of the Dominion and their own fractured forces to build a power base from the shadows. Vrax, once a brilliant strategist for the Dominion, had become a symbol of defiance to those who still longed for the old empire. His vision was simple: to rebuild the Dominion and impose its will on the galaxy once more. But he was no longer the cold, calculating commander of the past. Vrax had evolved, becoming a charismatic leader who was able to rally those who felt disenfranchised by the current galactic order. Humanity, aware of the threat he posed, launched a final, decisive strike against Vrax's stronghold. This would be the ultimate test of everything humanity had fought for. If they could defeat Vrax and dismantle the Shadow Collective once and for all, they would secure their place as the true leaders of the galaxy. But if they failed, it would mean the resurgence of the Dominion, an empire of fear, conquest, and oppression. The final battle took place on a desolate, abandoned world, once a Dominion stronghold, now the site of Vrax's hidden fortress. The humans, with their allies by their side, stormed the fortress, fighting through waves of the Shadow Collective's loyalists. The battle was fierce, but humanity's resolve was stronger than ever. Vrax, desperate to preserve his vision, engaged in one last confrontation, hoping to turn the tide of battle in his favor. But in the end, it was humanity's unity and determination that triumphed. The combined forces of the Galactic Coalition overwhelmed Vrax's defenses, and he was finally brought to justice. With his defeat, the Shadow Collective dissolved, and the threat that had loomed over the galaxy for so long was no more. The galaxy, though battered and scarred, had once again been saved. And with the fall of the Shadow Collective, humanity's place as the leaders of the galaxy was firmly cemented. The war that made humans a legend had not only forged humanity into a force to be reckoned with, but it had also shown the galaxy the true power of unity. In the years that followed, humanity worked tirelessly to ensure that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. The galaxy began to rebuild, stronger and more united than ever before. Humanity, once a species fighting for survival, had become the guardians of the galaxy, its protectors and its leaders. The legend of humanity, forged in the fires of war, was now a beacon of hope for all sentient beings in the stars. The galaxy had learned a hard truth: humanity, against all odds, had earned their place among the stars. And in the face of every new challenge, they would continue to rise.